One day when I was 14, she hit me so hard I couldn't really walk. And in secondary school, they just kind of noticed and they contacted social services. So that's kind of how I got into care from there.
We were quite young, like 8, 9, and we got ourselves dressed. We'd have to take ourselves to school. I'd have to look after him, take him to nursery, then get myself off to school.
Yeah, I felt like I was forced to mature at an early age, and especially when I had to look after my mum as well. I just started to be like a troubled kid, kind of. I kept getting in trouble. I was like, you know what, I don't want to be bullied anymore. So I felt like I changed the way I was just to put a barrier up so people couldn't actually bully me.
I felt trapped in my own head a lot of the time and in the situation. I just couldn't see a way out of it, and I remember thinking from a very young age that, I really wanted to die, and I don't think that's normal for a 9, 10-year-old to be thinking, and yeah, I was really unhappy. Being the only black kid in school as well, there was so much focus on myself, it was quite hard. And it was quite a challenge knowing I had Asperger's and dyslexia, but I wasn't going to let that slow me down.
I felt like I was scrutinised a lot. I was blamed because it was easy enough to blame me because I was really being bad.
I'd always go to my friends first. I think that's just because I think that's just the normal thing to do. If it was like a personal issue, I definitely put up this whole persona that I'm okay and everything is fine. And I think that's how I deal with it.
There was a lot of countryside, and whenever I felt particularly depressed or stressed or anxious, there was this one place I'd always walk to, and it was this. It's like a lone tree in the middle of this field, and I remember I went there and tried to practice mindfulness and all these different things.
I had like 16 different placements. Whenever you were moving somewhere, you'd see big black bags of stuff, and it just made you feel like shit. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. All the regulations, it felt very intrusive.
They had to move me out of the area because I was classed as a vulnerable child and put under protection. It made me feel very sad and it made me feel very alone. I was aware something wasn't okay, but I did love my mum. I made a lot of trouble for myself acting out a lot, and then I found myself just getting moved on and all that. So attachment was probably a big problem for me when I was younger.
It was really strange. I had to leave my brother, and that was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. The hardest thing was being in care, all the restrictions of it, and school trips and photographs, and not having the permission to go on school trips, and actually not getting photographed made you feel a bit weird. This was a lonely period because it was like a new environment and they were white, and the cultural barriers.
This is just a family. You can tell they're a family. We used to take a boat and the car, and I just absolutely loved the boat. I also loved that my foster parents would take me on holiday wherever they went. They would never leave me in respite or behind because they were worried about how I felt, and they started helping me with school.
I just wanted them to treat me as a normal student. I didn't want any special treatments or anything. No one knew I was in care, and that was one thing I really wanted to keep to myself.
I was just messing about and shouting, talking in class, just general things. I felt like I was scrutinised. The teachers made a big deal out of it and made me go and see people thinking there's something wrong with me and stuff. So I found being in care was just like they were there like, he needs this because that's what's wrong with him. Whereas really, I was just immature because I missed a lot of windows in my life, so I was catching up.
I have this pride. I don't know where it's from, but I have this pride. And I'll be in pain, the worst pain, but I still don't want to ask for help.
University had been the biggest maturity process for me. I realised how much my foster parents actually did for me. I felt like no one had authority over me and I felt like I could do whatever I wanted.
I wanted to move to a city and be around people, like-minded people, and kind of completely start fresh. I have rocky roots, but then I ended up a strong enough tree.
My support network was just really my foster parents. That's all I really needed. I've got their son and daughter as well. I know that everyone is just a phone call away, but it's not the same. I would have benefited if the care leaver who simply went through that experience would have given their experience.
It wasn't easy to get in contact, and it's not obvious. And I think that maybe there should be a service for care leavers or for vulnerable people, just so they can go to if they're struggling.
It's nice when someone can see through that barrier sometimes and kind of like give a helping hand.
You get financial help from social services. This was kind of worth all the horrible meetings and everything as a child. But who actually cares? And how do they care?
And what can we do to improve the experiences of young people in care?